We're going to work on our story together today. Before we start reading, let's go over some of the words that will be in this story. Number 1, C-I-T-Y, city. In this word, the C is making the soft C sound. It's making the S sound of S. They moved to the city from the country. So if you think about what a city is, it is a place where usually there are lots of buildings and people, cars, usually a busy place. Some people think it's crowded or noisy there. Usually lots of restaurants and things to do, places to go, places where people work. Usually more apartment type houses that can hold a lot of people in one space. So that would be about a city. Number 2 is a compound word, 2 parts. My is my, S-E-L-F is self, myself. When we put it together, we can make the word myself. I took the box into the house all by myself. Number 3, school, S-C-H-O-O-L. He met many new friends at school. Number 4, party, P-A-R-T-Y. They had a party for their new classmate. Number 5, number word, 7. She will bring 7 apples to school. This is a word we can sound out, S-E-V-N, 7. Number 6, B-U-Y, buy. This is the buy that means you have money to buy something. She will buy a plant for her friend. Number 7 is a good manner word. Please has silent E on the end and the long E sound because E-A are next to each other. Please play with us, they said. And number 8, family. They invited the family to come in. Families can be different. They can be people who are related to you or people who live with you. So not all families are the same. We have, I think, 3 words this week that have Y at the end where it is making the E sound. Our other word with Y at the end, buy, is not have that sound. But family, the Y is making the E sound. Party, the Y is making the E sound. And city, the Y is making the E sound. When Y is at the end of a 2-part word, it makes the E sound. So if I clapped city, it has 2 syllables or 2 parts, and Y says E. Same thing for party. 2 syllables, and Y says E. All right, let's see what we have for these words. Moving away. What might happen if your family moved to a new city? You might need 7 boxes to pack your things. You might ask, can I pack these myself, please? At your old school, friends might have a party for you and buy you a gift. What would you pack if you were moving? What would remind you of your old friends? So think for a moment. Some of you maybe have moved before. Maybe you have never had to move. If you ever did move, what did you bring with you? What was it like when you moved to a new place? In our story today, we're going to be thinking about characters. Characters are the people or animals that are in our story. We're going to be thinking about what the characters say when they are speaking, what the characters do when they are acting, and how the characters feel for their feeling. And when we talk about those 3 things, it will help us understand more about the characters when we know what they say, what they do, and how they feel. So our story is called The New Friend, It is by Maria Puncel, and the illustrations are by Ed Martinez. We can see a little bit more about them over here. Maria Puncel lives in Spain. She writes her books in Spanish. Many of them have been translated into English, including El Amigo Nuevo. So this story, The New Friend, was written in Spanish, and somebody translated or changed the words to English so that we were able to read it also. The illustrator who did the pictures is this man, Ed Martinez. It says, when Ed Martinez grew up with a painter in the family. His father was an artist. As a boy, Mr. Martinez got started by drawing horses. Now he draws pictures for magazines and books. Okay, so we are going to listen to our story together and then fill in a chart at the end. So let's see if I can get this in a good spot.
Martin, Luis, and I lived in the city. Next door was an old house. No one had lived there for a long time. One day, a work crew came with pails and brushes. They started to wash and paint the empty house.
So here we have met some characters, and we know some of their names: Martin, Luis, and then it says, and I, because this story is being told by one of the boys. So he doesn't call himself his own name. He calls himself I, which is how we talk about ourselves.
After they were done, and the paint had dried, the house looked pretty and new. The next day, a big truck pulled up. It was full of crates and boxes. A crew unloaded the boxes off the truck. A new family would soon live there.
So here we have a moving crew. The truck has all the boxes, and they're bringing things into the house.
Today, Luis went over to the house next door. He met a boy called Makoto. Then we all met Makoto. Makoto was 7 years old, just like us. Before long, we found out that Makoto played soccer. He could keep running and running. He was good at learning things too. He learned all of our names by the end of the game.
So when the new family moves in, they find that there is a boy who's the same age as them, 7 years old, and his name is Makoto, and he likes to do some of the same things they like to do. He likes to play soccer.
Soon, Makoto's family was all moved in. We met his mother and father. They were glad that Makoto had made some new friends.
Here we see another picture of them playing marbles together, so something else they like to do.
While Makoto's mother and father went to buy food, Makoto stayed and played with us. When Makoto's mother and father rejoined us, Martin, Makoto, and I helped them carry the bags into the house. Makoto said he would show us around his house. Then we went up to look at Makoto's room. Makoto still had a lot of boxes to unpack. He had some nice toys and kites. He said that on the next windy day we could bring his kites outside and fly them. He said I could fly a kite by myself.
So we learn a little bit more about Makoto. We see that his parents are in the house. They bring in the groceries and his friends help him. Then we see his room and we learn that he likes to fly kites.
Then we went outside to look at Makoto's pictures from Japan. He had them in a green book. On the first page, we saw Makoto's old house in Japan. On the next page, we saw Makoto's family in Japan. The last page had pictures of Makoto's friends. They showed Makoto's 7th birthday party. Makoto said, he wishes we could meet his old friends.
So when they're looking at the picture album, we get a little bit of a better idea about Makoto. We learn that he came from Japan. It is a country that is very far away from where we live. We see that he went to school there, that he had birthday parties there, and we see some of his friends that he played with at his old school.
At the end of the day, Makoto's mother and father repaid us for helping with cookies. We said please and thank you and ate up. Makoto's father said he had a new job in the city. Makoto would be going to our school. We were all glad about that. We said goodbye to Makoto and his mother and father. Then we went home to our families. We were glad to have a new friend next door.
Read.
Okay, so think about some of the things that happened in this story. We're going to be filling out this chart here about our characters, and we have speaking, acting, and feeling. So speaking are some of the things that the characters said during the story. And when I think back to the story, one of the things that I remember is that Makoto said he would let the boys fly his kites one day. So we can write that down under speaking. Makoto, we need a capital because it's his name, says he will, and then we can tell a little bit more about it, fly kites. We can end our sentence there. But he does say that he will let some of his new friends fly his kites with him. Another thing that we just heard at the end is that the boys said please and thank you when they got the cookies. So we can write that here. We need a capital for our first letter. Boys. We should actually say the boys. So we can fix that. The boys say please and thank you. They use good manner words when they are given something. And they say please and thank you when they get the cookies. So we learn a little bit more about our characters by thinking about what they say. We learn that Makoto is friendly and will share things. He will share his kites with his new friends. We learn that the boys are polite and use good manners because they say please and thank you. in the middle, we're going to fill in some things that they do in the story. Acting is what somebody does. So we're looking for action words. In the beginning of the story, the boys are watching the new house. They watch it get painted and they watch the boxes get moved in. So we can write that down here. The boys watch the house next door. Okay, so that's something that the boys do. They watch the house when the men are working on it and when the movers are putting the boxes inside. All right. We also see another action that they play soccer together and they play marbles together. So we can make a sentence that says, the boys play soccer and marbles with their new friend. And I put a period at the end. So here are some things that they do in the story. They watch the house next door. That tells us that they are curious. They want to know what's happening with the new family moving into the house. And we hear that they play soccer and play marbles with their new friend. So we learn that they have some things in common with Makoto. They can do things together. They like some of the same things. The last section that we're going to fill in says feeling. So we can think about how they were feeling in the story. Think about some feeling words, all right? So when we are reading this story or remembering some of the things that happen in the story, we think back that, let's see here, some of the things that happened in our story. Oh, that Makoto wants to stay with his friends when his parents go, or stay with the boys when his parents go to the store. Remember, they were playing marbles and Makoto stays with the boys. So maybe he was feeling comfortable with his new friends. He felt like he could get along with those people. So we could say Makoto felt happy with his new friends. If Makoto didn't really like them or wasn't having fun, he might have said, oh no, I'll go to the store with my mom and dad. But since he was having fun with his friends and he felt comfortable and happy there, he wanted to stay with them and play while his parents went to the store. All right. So maybe Makoto also felt friendly. Like he was making new friends and teaching his friends by showing his picture album to them. He felt friendly by showing his pictures to the boys. So he was showing them something that was special to him at his old house, his friends, his school, his birthday party, and he was able to teach them a little bit about himself by being friendly. So here we have some things that teach us more about our characters. When we think about what our characters are saying, what they are doing, and how they are feeling. It helps us remember parts of our story. It helps us understand more about the characters and why they are doing things in our story. If you like this story and want to listen again, go go back to the beginning and you can hear the story again.